Dear students, a very good evening. Yeah, do you see this slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so we were discussing about LPG, isn't it? Liberalization,
Liberalization.
privatization,
Ma'am.
and globalization. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, today we shall discuss about the different ways of privatization. Okay. Yeah. So it's a simple attempt of the government no towards liberalization is states regulation and control that is being interpreted as privatization. Okay. So number one is liquidation. One form of privatization is liquidation. Liquidation is nothing, actually it's not a method of privatization. It is totally if any public sector enterprise is not working properly, is not providing profits, is not viable, it's not viable to work and all, what they do is they outrightly they'll close the unit. Okay, so this we call it as liquidation. Okay, that is, there is no chance at all that this public sector unit will survive, will give some profits. Is it's their no, we can revive the unit. No, as such provisions are not there. So what the government will do is they outrightly close that unit, that enterprise. That is liquidation. Next method of privatization is transfer of ownership. Now, in this case, the ownership of any public service enterprises, they transfer it to the government to no, they transfer fully or sometimes no partly in where in the hands of private people. Okay, private enterprises. And this transfer of ownership, they can take place no in three ways. Okay, number one is they may sell totally the enterprise to the private people. That is one case. And the second case is they sell some of the industrial unit either by no dismantling or just dividing into small components or some multi-product public sector units like that, so small units, and then they dispose those small units product wise to the private sector. So in this way they can transfer the ownership. That is the second way. And the third one is sale of equity of a public sector enterprise to private sectors. Okay, private units. So equity, that is either 51% of the equity they can give it to the public private people. Okay, so that is how they transfer ownership. So in case of transfer of ownership, the what the government has to do is they have to go undergo some process. How? By securing some legislative consent. That is in the assembly that would be discussed whether no, this public sector unit has to be closed or has to be given to a private sector. No? So the legislative consent must be taken. Okay, and then they have to prepare the public enterprise for disposable, and then they have to decide the objectives of overall privatization and how you have to dispose that public sector unit. Okay, so that is the things they have to do while they are transferring the ownership to private people. One way of privatization. Number three is leasing or employee buyout. Yeah, leasing or employee buyout. Now, what happens in this method is a public sector enterprise, they will do what? Lease it, lease out to a private firm on some conditions. Okay, like contract basis and all, right? Some part they'll give it to leasing. The government again, what they do, they collect some lease fee. Okay, from the private firm. the what is the main advantage in this type of privatization is the government will be no relieved of no tension at all, that whether this private public sector is running in profits or not, all these things, this tensions will not be there. So they will be relieved of running this business, and they encourage to buy the equity of public sector, and they become owners. So no that is the employees there, they become uh, because they are given a chance to buy the equity of that public sector. Okay, so then they become owners, and their commitment again, no, because before that they were just employees. Now that they have become no because they have some shares of that, so they put on their heart and soul for that public sector, isn't it? So then the scenario of that sector would change. Yeah, they'll be turning that losses into profits. Okay, so that is what is employee burnout. Next is transfer of management to private sector. In this case, yeah, yeah, transfer of management to private sector. So in this case, what the government is doing is retaining some of its ownership. Okay, the management can control, that would be placed in the hands of private individuals. So ownership would in their hands, whereas management is given to private sector. And you all know what is management. See, management is nothing but no planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, and controlling, isn't it? So all that would be in the hands of private sector. So ownership would be in the hands of the government, but how to manage, how to plan, how to control, how to coordinate, how to recruit people, all these things would be given in the hands of private sectors. Okay, so this the management of these public sectors, they have full operational autonomy based on some terms and conditions. So and that terms and conditions they write in memorandum of understanding. Okay, next is contracting out. See, this is nothing but a platform, you can say, or a mechanism or a process, okay, in which private people they carry out certain government activities or some services, which in reality is the duty of the government staff or government people. Okay. Now, for example, see, what nowadays now what the government is doing, they are outsourcing some of the work of the government, no, like power billing. You see the people coming and taking the meter reading and all, no, they are actually outsourced people. They are not the employees of the electricity department, but they are the people who are being recruited, not exactly recruited. They are given some tasks to complete, and then they are laid out. Okay, so power billing, then garbage collections, waste management, some maintenance works, and all these things. So these are the works actually have to be done by government people, government sector, and all. So as you can see, there's no recruitment since so many years, and hence unemployment is increasing. So, but in order to know things to set in the society, like garbage collection and all these things, what they are doing, they are outsourcing, they are contracting out, they give to some private people and they do on their behalf. Okay, so that is what is contracting. Next is fragmentation. So this is now, see, name itself is fragmenting, dividing. Yeah. So what the thing is done here by government is they divide the parent unit into some smaller units, and each unit no will be privatized, and that that privatized unit would work on their own, and they get some profits and all these things. Okay, so dividing it, so this method now is very useful because when no one buyer comes forward to take, see, taking a big unit and that to a government sector, the whole structure with the employees and all, it's a very costlier affair. So private people, they may not come to buy the huge thing. Suppose, for example, suppose if they want to privatize railway department, all the whole railway department cannot be bought by a private person. Okay, there is a group of private persons also, they, it is not possible because such a huge infrastructure and no machines and all these things are used. It's a very big department. So instead what they can do is they can fragment, okay, divide into smaller units like northern division, and in that again northern eastern division and northern western division, and in that again only no wagons or only these people would be. So like that too, then private people would be interested in buying those smaller units because they also have to look about their own cost, isn't it? So like that, so fragmentation is done. Apart from the above these things, no, liquidation, transfer of ownership, leasing or employee burnout, transfer of management to private sector, or contracting out, fragmentation, there are a few other methods. Okay, see, in case of small enterprises, equity, they can be sold through placing with some financial institutions. Okay, some things will be given sold to financial institution because they will be investing in that, right? So alternately, what the enterprise or asset might be put for auction with some successful bidder being the one meeting any specified conditions which offers the highest price. So whoever is giving a bid there and giving a highest price, that asset or that enterprise would be sold to that particular person or group of persons. Okay, so likewise, various methods are there to privatize. Next important topic is disinvestment commission. Okay, so for that we should understand what is this disinvestment. See, the government of India constantly is using this term, isn't it? So, as per the meaning assigned by Disinvestment Commission, actually, there are no differences between disinvestment and privatization. Okay, when you see some countries, no, they don't use the word privatization. Okay, now for example, Australia, they use privatization, but whereas Bolivia, what they are doing, they are not telling privatization, but they are telling it as industrial transition. And Chile, they are saying it as popular capitalism. Then Costa Rica, they are saying economy democratization. Egypt, partners in development. Mexico people, they are saying disincorporation. New Zealand, they are saying assets sales program. See, in this only we can know the whole meaning of disinvestment. Each country, they are not using privatization, no, as a word, but different words are given. Whereas Sri Lanka is saying peopleization. Okay, and Thailand is saying transformation. Tunisia is saying restructuring, and UK is saying denationalization. Okay, so whatever the nomenclature or different names given by different countries and all, thing is disinvestment is nothing but it is a mechanism or process adopted by any government or any state. What for? To dispense. Okay, to give off, to lay off. Okay, they are what wholly or partly a public sector unit. Okay, as we have seen the above investment, different methods of privatization, isn't it? So in that way, what the government is doing, they are either wholly, that is whole public sector are given in the hands of private people, or sometimes partly. Okay, either by fragmentation or contract or whatever it is. Okay, so it is being given. Next is disinvestment commission. See, the budget speech of 1996 and 97, they have announced the setting up of this commission, okay, called Disinvestment Commission. Now, why this is been established or announced? Yeah, for advising on the disinvestment related matters. Okay, now see, for example, Mr. X is a public sector unit, suppose, and it is not fetching any profit since 10 years, but the government is going on continuing that same method of managing things and all, then that is no use at all to the society, isn't it? Now, whether to close it or whether to give it to private people, all such related disinvestment matters would be dealt by this commission. Okay, number one. Number two is to take and implement decisions to disinvestment in a transparent manner. Okay, not that in the night they are selling the whole public sector, you need to private people. This will not be a case, because that needs legislative consent and many procedures have to be followed. They are answerable to people, they are answerable to supreme judiciary, isn't it? So hence, to carry out in a transparent manner how this disinvestment must be done, okay, how this public sector has to be privatized, all these things will be done by this investment commission. Okay, that is the second one. And the third one is to monitor the disinvestment programs. So it's not just we have disinvested the public sector and just keep quiet. It's not like that. We have to monitor the purpose behind that disinvestment of the public sector is to make it more profitable, to be helpful to the society. To the society, is it not? So therefore they have to monitor, they have to see that the work we have done, that the disinvestment we have done to this public sector, is it serving properly, is it giving us profits, is it serving the service nature of public sector or not. So like that, things have to be monitored. Yeah, next is National Investment Fund. See, NIF. This is set in the year 2005, and the main purpose of this fund is to receive disinvestment proceeds of central public sector enterprises and to invest the same to generate earnings without depleting the corpus, which is permanent. Okay, yeah. See, listen carefully. This fund, see, any enterprise, whether it is public sector or private sector, they need funds, isn't it, to run the show, yeah, to run their business. So that's the reason that this investment fund is established in 2005. Now, what they do is they receive disinvestment proceeds of central public sector enterprises. So, suppose a public sector enterprise is privatized. Okay, some disinvestment things are done. So, they get some money, isn't it? They get some funds that would be collected. Okay, they are collected for what? To invest the same thing. Yeah, the same thing to generate earnings. So they same thing now. Pulling that money from this investment, again putting it in some units or some you can say process or mechanism, so that some earnings can be brought in without depleting the corpus, okay, which is permanent. See, corpus is nothing but no the actual amount of that. Okay, suppose if it's a mutual company and 10,000 is given, then 10,000, whatever that they are getting, that is a permanent corpus of that particular mutual fund. Okay, so whatever is permanent, without depleting it, they are using that funds which have received due to disinvestments in generating earnings. Okay, and these proceeds of from disinvestment of central public sector units would be channelized. Okay, would be channelized properly. Yeah, not that whole would be put in. See, they say no, we should not keep all the eggs in one basket, isn't it? So that's the reason that 75% of whatever the disinvestment proceeds have come of annual income of NIF, that would be used to finance selected social sector schemes. Okay, for see, education. Social sector schemes, no, basically education, health, and like employment. So education, for example, Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao is an education scheme, isn't it? It's a social sector scheme. So 75% of whatever they have disinvested through a public sector enterprise, that would be used for this purpose. Okay, I have given you an example, Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao. See, you need no, if that only slogan is the given, it needs funds. You have to give awareness, brochures, flyers have to be printed, you have to train the people, yeah, all these things, and they require some funds, isn't it? And you have to give them scholarships, you have to give them midday meals, then only they will come to schools, yeah. And no infant mortality must not be there, right? All these things needs funds. So these funds are getting from disinvestments of public sector. Okay, so likewise health insurance and all, then creating employment, yeah, providing employment benefits to the people, yeah. Unemployed bhatta, you say no, you are giving unemployment fee to the unemployed persons, like that, on that schemes they use. And the rest 25%, what they are doing, they are using it to meet the capital investment requirements of profitable and revivable CPSCs, that is central public sector enterprises. So those whatever is there, they are reviving it, they are renovating it, so that they can make it more profitable. Okay, so the NIF, that is National Investment Fund, is professionally managed by public sector mutual funds, and that too selected public sector mutual funds. Okay. See, when we see some of the example, no, what the SNIF have done in 2013, they have no subscribed to the shares issued by CPSC on right basis, so that 51% ownership of the government is not diluted. That one thing they have done, and then preferential allotment of shares of CPSC to promoters as per SEBI rules they have done. Then they recapitalized the public sector banks and public sector insurance companies. Okay, and this investments by, okay, yeah, investments by government in RRBs and NABARD and Exim Bank. They have recapitalized in these banks. Equity infusion in various metro projects. Okay, investments in Bharatiya Navikya Vidyut Nigam Limited and Uranium Corporation of India Limited. Okay, and investment in Indian Railways towards capital expenditure. So such funds are used for the purposes of developing central public sector units. Okay. Next, we have PPP model. You might have heard about this PPP model, right? It is nothing but public-private partnerships. So there are various methods. Okay. See, the name itself is saying that's a collaboration. Okay, public and private. We know what is partnership. Yeah. So when public and private are combining together, that model we call it as public-private partnership. Okay, so managerial and financial joint participation. Okay, they may exist between public and private entities. And normally these PPP projects, the private partners, they take risk. Okay, here remember that the private people are bearing the risk and they are taking up managerial responsibility. Okay, so this PPP model is very famous in India, very popular, especially in developing the infrastructure, roads, railways, and all these things. Post offices, then building bridges and dams. Yeah, all this. So developing infrastructure, and then high priority. That is, defense is high priority, right? So that high priority sectors are taken care of. And the third one is public utility services. Okay, like providing gas connections, gas and all, electricity, water connections, housing and all these things. So that is all public utility projects. So on that this model is being used, especially in India. Okay, so this PPT is not something new to the country, but it existed before independence also, and before that also. Okay, so what are those PPP models? Let us see. One is BOO model, that is build, own, and operate. B stands for build, O for own, and another O is for operate. Okay, now what is happening in this is, in this method, new units either to undertaken by the public sector are given to private sector to build them with own investments and ownership with freedom to operate. So what is happening here is, new units are given to uh, private people whom by public sector to build it, to own their investments, and they are very free to operate. That means government will not be interfering in any of their activities, whether it is investment policy or it is disinvestment, whether planning or organizing or controlling, but they don't interfere. They are free to operate. Okay, that is one more. And the second model is BOT model, that is build, own, transfer model. Now here in this case, private sector invests and operates for some time, and then later they transfer that same thing to government. So that means they make it ready and then they serve it to government. Okay. Then we have bolt model, build, own, lease, and transfer. See, name itself is saying us build, they will build it, they will own it, and then again they will lease it, and then they transfer it to the government. So in this, the private sector is investing, they are leasing out to government, and at a later date, the ownership is transferred. How? After receiving some compensation from government. Okay, so that would be transferred to government. So bolt method. Boast method is build, own, share, and then transfer. Now in this form of PPP model, private sector, what they are doing, they are investing, they are owning it, and then the shares with the government, the shares will be given to the government, and then finally they will transfer it to government only after receiving their cost, whatever the cost has incurred in building there. Yeah, that would be taken, and then the whole ownership would be given to government. Okay, so likewise you have different models. The name itself would be saying us DBF model, that is design, build, and finance. Yeah, then we have DBO, design, build, and operate. Here next is DBFO, that is design, build, and finance and operate. BLT, build, lease, and transfer. BTO, build, transfer, operate. BBFOM, design, build, finance, operate, and then manage. Okay. Then LROT, lease, renovate, operate, and then transfer. Likewise, DCMF, design, construct, manage, and finance. BOOR, that is build, own, operate, and report. Okay. Now, see, whatever the model is, what there is a cooperation between public sector and private sector, isn't it? See, some of the examples of PPP models in India, no, see, user-free based BOT model. One is no modified design build, turnkey contracts, Delhi Metro Rail project. That is because of PPP only. Then Mumbai Pune Expressway. Then Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Kaushalya Yojana. Okay, that is one there. Metro rail policy, Atal Distribution Transformation Yojana, Aditya scheme we talk about. Now Tejas Express, that is also a PPP model. Most of these metro projects are PPP model. That this is the first train approved by PPP by the Railway Department of India. Okay, Tejas Express. So likewise, Many examples are there. Yeah, till now, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Then shall we go for globalization?
Yes.
Yeah. See, the slide is very clear. Globalization is integration of one economy with economies of rest of the world so as to make it look like a global village. This calls for removal of all barriers on the movement of goods, services, resources, both physical resources and financial resources, technologies, etc., between one country and other countries of the world. So, in other words, free flow of goods and services across the world, we call it as globalization. See, totally clear. we are we are calling not global city or global metro and all, we are calling it as global village. Okay. Even we are talking about local to global, global to local. Okay, local also. Yeah, because see, the world has become so compact because of technology, because of MOUs, memorandum of understandings between different countries on trade, yeah, on health, on education, on various sectors and all. So that is, the world has become so compact that we see it as a village. You know how small would be a village. We move in one gully and come to the other gully, the village ends, isn't it? So that is how the situation of all the countries is, because of technology and all these things. And everybody is dependent on one or other, either for the resources or raw materials or human resource or physical resources or financial resources. So hence they depend on each other, and hence it has become so compact, so small, that we are calling it as a village. Okay, so global village, right? So that's what is. Now what here we are doing is integrating, okay, India's economy with American economy, Japanese economy, Germany's economy, Russian economy, yeah, African economy, like that. So rest of the economies, we are integrating it. Hence, we are calling it as global village. Now, by this, what is actually happening is we are removing whatever the restrictions were there before by any economy in the country. Okay. So there would be restrictions. No, we won't provide you raw materials, but you have to send your raw materials to us. Then only this is possible. Like that, some restrictions would be were there between countries, but no such barriers now, no such restrictions now. Easy free flow of goods, movement of goods, even movement of services, health services or education services, whatever, banking services, all these things. No, that's the reason that we can find no SBI even in America also. You find no IOB, Indian Overseas Bank, also in foreign country. Yeah, such services are there because barriers have been removed totally. Yeah, and even resources like physical resources, that is getting machinery, German technique machinery or German technology into our country, our technology to other country, that is all possible. Even financial resources we are exchanging, technologies are being exchanged between countries. So that's the reason that it has become a global village. All this is happening because free flow of goods and services is possible, because no economy is restricting it, no government of any country is restricting. Hence, this thing is happening. So, hence, we call it as a globalization. Okay. Now, before that, we should also know what are the government policies towards globalization. Okay, so India, they followed a policy of closed economy, since independence, by imposing some restrictions, some controls over free flow of goods, regulating and restricting foreign investments and foreign technologies, isn't it? Because of no Mahatma Gandhi's, yeah, all no Western culture, Western goods have to be abolished. Then only we'll get independence, and also that therefore that thing has been followed till some period of time. Okay, then they came to know in mid 1980s that government carefully have to nurse and protect domestic industry. So therefore, the stiff competition is there. We have to prevent all these things. So hence, it's better that we have to give some relaxations to goods, some goods, and some flow of goods should be easy between the countries and all. So this has been done. So what happens if such things are there is you get good quality, reasonable price goods, and they will be available at wherever we require. So such possibilities are there. So hence, what the government have done is they went on globalization. Okay, to overcome no severe foreign exchange crisis, the government of India, what they have done, they have approached these two major banks, that is International Monetary Fund and World Bank, for assistance, because the economy has prevailed with poverty, unemployment, all social evils and all these things, no? So hence they have approached them, and on the promise that India will adopt some adjustment programs with World Bank, they started giving help. See, anybody know, they, if they want to help, they put on some conditions. Likewise, even IMF and World Bank has put on some conditions on India, and this then they have agreed to provide some funds to the government. So hence came the industrial policy of 1991, thanks to Dr. Manmohan Singh and PV Narasimha Rao, that the whole Indian economy has changed because of this industrial policy of 1991. Hence we call it as new industrial policy also. Okay, so what had happened? Let see, in 1991 policy that has dealt with these following measures, especially towards globalization. One is import liberalization. Okay, see, government of India, what have they have done is they permitted import of capital goods, like big machinery and all these things, and intermediate goods and raw material, except some restricted imports. Okay, and the peak rate of customs duty on non-agricultural products, that has been brought down to 150% in 1991 and 92. Okay, so some statistics is there. All they have done, as such, what had happened is, what government of India has done, they have removed all quantitative restrictions, especially from April 2001, and this, when they have done this, lot of changes have come, and they facilitated in liberalizing imports. Okay, and also exports. So that was a big step, a huge step in the Indian economy. The next one is foreign investment policy. See, this is FDI, we call it, yeah, foreign direct investments, or we call it as foreign institutional investments, that is FIIs. They have done a lot of good thing in 1991. Uh, Countries like America and other countries, they started investing in our country. So government, they have opened the floodgates, we can say, for the free flow of foreign investments in our country. So even they permitted multi-brand retailers like Walmart, yeah, IKEA. Yeah, you see, no, IKEA in Hyderabad and all, Walmarts and all. So they have come because of this foreign investment policies in India. So foreign technology and technical know-how, knowledge that imports have permitted liberally in our country. But regulations definitely would be by RBI. Okay. Next is exchange controls. Yeah. See, India that has adopted a fixed exchange rate policy and strict exchange controls like direct and indirect for long period. In 1973, FERA was passed, preventing and regulating the use of foreign exchange. But later in 2000, it has changed into FERA. FERA has changed into FEMA. Okay, Foreign Exchange Management Act. Okay, and because whatever the exchange controls are there between countries that are being now managed properly, not regulated, but they are managed properly. So hence FEMA has come into uh, the existence. Okay. Next is devaluation of rupee. The financial and foreign exchange crisis of 1990 that forced India to take some measures, to some corrective measures. As the foreign exchange reserves touched the lower ever, just enough to meet weeks of import bills at that time in January 1991. So, an international financial institutions, they were not ready to no, provide discount to even government bills also they did not provide. So to overcome this, what government of India has done is they devaluated the rupee was devalued twice, and this effective devaluations were around 17.5%. So ultimately, that will boost exports and always discourage imports. That should be the formula. The import should be less and export should be more. So that has been possible because of this devaluation of a rupee. Next is a liberalized exchange rate management system. We call it as LERMS or LERMS also. This is again to boost exports. It has been taken, and in this system, they have introduced dual exchange rates to give incentive to earn a large amount of rupee earnings to the exporters and recipients of foreign exchange. So they said if a enterprise or anything they are importing, they have to pay more, and if they are exporting, government would be paying them more. So that was the concept used in this. So liberalized exchange rate management system is followed. Next is full convertibility. Now in this this LRAMS is being replaced by this full convertibility of rupee in 1993. Okay. Now this is helping foreign exchange to convert Indian currency and Indian currency into foreign currency at the market determined by exchange rate. That is always no exchange rate would be controlled by demand and supply of rupee, isn't it? Demand and supply forces definitely. So they are being controlled and converted into uh, Indian currencies. Yeah, without any need for any government permissions and all. So this is confined only to current account transactions and not capital account transactions. So this is how 1991 policy, they made things very clear, and free flow of goods and services has been possible because such things are being taken care by government of India. Okay. Do we have time to deal with this Indian financial system and reforms in financial sector?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. But 4:30 we have a class.
At 4:40 you have?
4:30.
4:30. Okay then. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. We'll continue with this. Yeah. Indian financial system and reforms in financial sector. See, a system that enables the exchange of funds or financial services between the supplier of funds, money, and the borrowers, we call it as financial system. Now, in the process of exchange or transference of funds, there can be many players, such as investors, agents, borrowers, institutions, and instruments. So all this together we call it as financial system. Okay. Now, yeah. So first, see, just imagine India and what is the financial system here. See, you find some investors, you find some agents, you find some borrowers, you find some institutions. Yeah, it can be bank institutions, service institutions, and all these things, and some instruments, like shares, debentures, equity shares, mutual funds, and all these things are there. So when they are doing, something like exchanging their funds, giving them some services, and here we are calling it as funds here, that is money and all these things. So all together, whatever these investors, agents, borrowers, institutions, and instruments are performing or doing something like exchanging and no the funds or the money, we call this whole system as financial system. Okay. So there are mixed opinions, no, when we talk about this LPG, no, and okay, though, so before no, we go for Indian financial system and reforms in financial sector. Uh, we have come to know that there is an LPG here, right? Things have been changed because of this three things: liberalization, privatization, and uh, globalization, right? So this the impact of these programs. No, we can first we have to understand this. So whatever the parameters, no, that is one is no rate of economic growth, industrial growth, infrastructure, exports, balance of payments, inflation, employment, poverty. So these we take first we take these parameters and let us know attach this LPG to these things whether increase or decreased. Okay, then we can understand the whole thing of Indian financial system and whether it has developed or not when LPG is introduced or not, isn't it? So let us take one after the other whether rate of economic growth has increased or not. See, notwithstanding some ups and downs in certain years over the LPG, but rate of economic growth after the eighth 5-year plan, they have increased. So it is by no means that greater things are being achieved by LPG, we can say, when we compare rate of economic growth. And second thing is industrial growth. See, it has performed well in the last past decades of liberalization area. So countries started manufacturing units and manufacturing number of capital goods, intermediate goods, durable consumer goods. So we can say that yeah, there's a very good increase in foreign investments, and also a huge industrial growth has been done because of this LPG. Next is infrastructure. Yeah, post liberalization, infrastructure developed, large scale investments have been possible for the long gestation projects. Yeah, whether it is construction of power projects or ports or airports, yeah, highway projects, all whatever. So infrastructure developed. So that's the reason we see this OTT and all, no? Yeah, that is in infrastructure developed because of LPG. Next is exports. Yeah, thanks to the foreign exchange investment policies and a removal of controls on imports and exports, a lot of things we are exporting to other countries, and even services we are providing to third world countries also. So substantially exports also increased after LPG. Next, balance of payment. Okay, no, government revenue and government expenditure, that has to be balanced, that we call it as balance of payments, isn't it? So this BOP position is after post liberalization period. In fact, no, India came out of this critical crisis, before 1990. So this is 1991 that a lot of changes have come, and RBI is trying to make this position to some extent quite satisfactory. We have some foreign exchange reserve also. Yeah, so record level development is there in this. Next is inflation. Okay, after this LPG policies on no prices, they are not been established. No, to a to a extent we cannot curb this inflation, because see, inflation depends on various factors, not just price. Okay, it depends upon the government who is ruling, their manifesto, unemployment, party, all this is many factors is there, not just price. Okay, so we cannot say that after LPG we could curb this. We just see the price is going on increasing. You just imagine the price of gold. Okay, during my childhood and all, it was in three digits. Now it is. Imagine how things are growing, right? So we could not curb this inflation, though LPG has been introduced. Employment, despite high rate of economic and industrial growth, but there is an adverse effect of employment. Okay, and it would be worse even in further also. People would be laid off. Recently, 2 3 days back, many companies like Amazon, Walmart, and all, they have laid off employees, some 3,000 members in Hyderabad. So this is happening. No, we cannot control this employment. And see, if artificial intelligence is replacing human one, see, there would be a lot of unemployment would be there in the coming days, because the robots and all would be doing all the labor work and the major works of what the people could do. Okay, so things are changing, so we have to be prepared for this thing coming. Okay, and the poverty still we see. Thing is, bad luck of India, we can say, is rich is becoming richer and richer. We see Ambanis, Adanis, and all these things. They are becoming richer and richer and richer, whereas poor becoming poorer and poorer and poorer. Okay, so below poverty line, vast difference is there. Yeah. Though several party elevated programs are being introduced, yeah, minimum employment schemes are brought. They are given work also, but still, party is prevailing. Okay. Yeah, these are the important financial constituents, you can say, bodies, you can say, hands and legs also, you can say, of financial system. One is financial institutions, financial markets, financial instruments, and financial services. I think we cannot take up this topic. It's already 4:30.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, then we'll carry this tomorrow. Okay,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Have a nice day.
You too, ma'am. Bye.
Bye bye.